Good morning, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Manchester United players complain about Eric Ten Hag being too strict in and around the dressing room. Is that really what Manchester United are becoming, that players are leaking through other people that Ten Hag's too strict and that's why they might be failing? I mean, Jose Mourinho was strict and we failed. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was soft for 3 years and we failed. It's a bit like bloody Goldilocks and her bloody bowls of porridge. Too hot, too cold, ooh, just right. I mean, since when do players dictate who should manage Manchester United? And I think this is a prime example of the tail wagging the dog, which happens in some organisations and leads to failure. We're also going to... The kits are too tight, says AK as well. Also going to talk about how much it's going to cost Manchester United to sack Eric Ten Hag if that's what they do. Apparently £15 million is what Sky are reporting this morning. Also want to bring in a little bit about the Glazers and a few other bits as well. Did I mention to you about Chalobah yesterday as well? I meant to mention it yesterday, but I don't know. But look, let's hit this story right from the off, where it's coming from, and sort of try and understand what it means. Because for me, I just find it absolutely incredible. So Sami Mukbel, who is a good journalist, is saying that Manchester United players fear head coach Eric Ten Hag's abrupt approach is affecting squad harmony. Figures within the United squad believe Ten Hag's handling of certain players has had a negative impact on team togetherness. I mean, what I would say straight away is, why with Manchester United have we become so stereotypical? Why is it after any bad result, there's always leaks about the manager? And I just don't, I find it frustrating. And if I could out those leaks, or, these journalists could tell us where they're getting it from, I would reveal that information, because it doesn't do us any good. Like, at the end of the day, we lose a Manchester derby and it's pile on Ten Hag, and the players will see that opportunity to push it away from them, because as we know, and not all the squad, you can dismiss people like Rasmus Højlund because he's only just come in. You can dismiss other players that have just come in like Onana and Mason Mount. But there are players within that club who've been here under Solskjaer, under Rangnick, and are now here under Ten Hag, who we know are toxic, who we know are blame shifters, and we know will be at it again. Now, I probably know who those players are. It doesn't really matter, because what people need to understand about leaks is, if you start saying Maguire or Bruno or Rashford or whoever like that, you're probably miles off, because what you've got to remember is some of these players are good mates with players at other clubs. Some of these players are good mates with players on loan. And if that player on loan has a good relationship with a journalist and says, I'm hearing from the dressing room that they're not happy with some of the decisions that Ten Hag's made and it's ruining the harmony. Well, the leak is not actually in the dressing room. It's someone in the dressing room speaking to somebody else who leaks it. So it's not Man United's midfielder picking up the phone to Manchester Evening News and leaking it, or Sami Mukbel. It'll be coming in from a family member or somebody else, and that's where it comes from. And that's why it's very hard for Manchester United to plug the leaks. But ultimately, squad harmony, strictness, togetherness. Let me just say this. I didn't notice that this team was very together for any games this season. And I wonder about squad harmony, because when I look at squad harmony from last season, and one thing I will say as well, and it's never been counted, is that I've been told on probably 3 separate occasions over the last 2 years, the leaks very rarely come from foreign players because they don't have the relationship with the British press that some of the British players have. So it very rarely comes in from a foreign player, i.e. it's be very unlikely that you had someone like Bruno Fernandes picking up the phone to Samuel Luckhurst, or, Anthony picking up the phone to Sami Mukbel or whoever like that. That's very unlikely to be happening because the foreign players just don't have that relationship with the British press. And I look at that United side of last season and I go, well, David De Gea was a foreign player. Wan-Bissaka seems quite a quiet lad. I don't think he would be into that sort of stuff, really. Varane, Martinez are foreign players. Casemiro's a foreign player. So straight away, you're moving through. Bruno's foreign. So straight away, you look at that team last season, when it was together, the vast majority of that leadership group was foreign players. This season, we haven't got that. Martinez, Varane are injured a lot. Casemiro's been out of the team. Bruno, he's still there. Onana's a new goalkeeper. And I just wonder if the dynamic of the dressing room and the togetherness of the dressing room has suffered because of injury and exit, and it's allowed the toxic group to start getting a cling on the dressing room again, because we seem to be getting a lot of more leaks and we seem to be getting a lot more bad results since we broke up or lost some of the togetherness of last year. But it absolutely stinks. It really, really does. And it frustrates me because I don't really want to individualise it. And this is individualising it. This is a hatchet job on Ten Hag, which people within the media absolutely want to push. I absolutely hate it. I don't like it at all. I don't like bullying, and I don't like individualising the problems at Manchester United. And I see it I listen to it on the radio, I see it on the TV, I see it on social media, I see it in our chat, and it frustrates the life out of me because it's almost the definition of an idiot. They cannot move off Ten Hag. They will not listen to anything else. And as I said last night, give me the alternatives. You can't, but also blinkered all on Ten Hag. And this is something that the players will feed into because they'll see there's a gap. There's a gap here. I played shit in the Manchester derby, but people are talking about Ten Hag. Right, guess what, mate? This is what's going on in the dressing room. Please don't tell the papers about it. And that's how it works. So Man United players fear head coach Erik Ten Hag's abrupt approach is affecting squad harmony. I don't give a toss if Erik Ten Hag is a disciplinarian. I really don't care because he is the manager. Jose Mourinho is the manager. This is not really on the players. The players should be kicked out of the club. This comes back to the ownership. The players should not be allowed to be leaking against the manager. It wouldn't happen under Sir Alex Ferguson. It wouldn't happen under Pep Guardiola. And it wouldn't happen under Jurgen Klopp. So we don't even need to go back to Sir Alex, which was over 10 years ago. We can live in the modern world. You wouldn't get Man City players or Liverpool players or even Arsenal players now, and probably not Spurs players, to be honest, at the moment, leaking against the manager. They wouldn't do it because they know they would lose. But this comes down to structure at Manchester United. They know, because they've been doing it for years, that they can leak and stay. And that's the headline there for me. It's not the fact that we've got leaks. We will get leaks. It's not the fact that players are undermining the manager and, basically trying to sack him. It's the fact that it's happened so many times. And the bottom line is we get frustrated with the players. Some people might agree with the players, which I find incredible. But ultimately, it comes down to the CEO. It comes down to the Glazers. It comes down to the director of football. It comes down to the leadership group. Because if I'm waking up this morning as one of those people and I see that there's leaks against the manager about his strictness, then I'm storming straight into Carrington and I'm holding a meeting with the team, with the players. And I'm saying, look, I don't know where all this is coming from, but trust me, this manager's here to stay. And you lot aren't necessarily here to stay. You play for Manchester United. It's a privilege. There's a lot of change coming up. And if you want to be playing mid-table football at Everton, carry on with what you're doing. Because I tell you what, there's big changes. Some of you will be part of that change. Some of you won't be. Keep your gobs shut and do the work. Because last time I checked, we'd lost 5, won 5. You've all played games for this team and you've all played shit. Shut your gobs and do your talking on the pitch, because I'm telling you now, I'm fed up of it. We've sacked so many managers, we've had so many issues with leaks from the dressing room. Show some fucking pride for this shirt and get out there and start performing, you wankers, and then walk out and probably get applauded as well, because I'd live stream it. But that's the sort of leadership you need at United. And people look at the manager and people look at the players and they play themselves off it and they go, I'm with Ten Hag, I'm with the players, or I'm with the players, I'm with Ten Hag. When actually, it's about the leadership. We need proper leadership at that football club, and we're not getting it. The players should not be able to be put... I'd be fuming about that. And what are fans supposed to do with that? Hi, Mark, I'm not Ten Hag out, but some of his decisions this season, including on the ground decisions, are questionable and give valid points for Erik Ten Hag out, says Jay. I disagree. I feel we are on a broken record. I'll tell you why in a minute, Jay, because we're not talking about that. I feel we're on a broken record with media and players, Mark. Every time we lose games, we get the same stories. Didn't they hate other managers too when they started to lose games? And this is the thing, Ray. This is exactly the thing. These leaks are just wrapped up in a different thing. It's like I'm convinced this happened to me for a few years. I had a Lynx Africa set for Christmas, and I got it, didn't want it, didn't hardly touch it, wrapped it up and gave it to a nephew. And then the next year, I'm sure he wrapped it up and gave it back to me. And I think then I gave it to an uncle. And it was just the same thing being wrapped up every Christmas. And I feel like this is the same thing that's going on at United. Every time a manager starts to lose games, we get leaks from the dressing room. Pep Guardiola, let me just say this as well. Let's just break this down. So, Man United players, when you read the leak, Man United players believe Ten Hag's handling of certain individuals has had a negative impact on the team togetherness. They fear that the head coach's abrupt approach is affecting squad and harmony. So basically what you're saying is he's too strict and the players don't like the way Jaden Sancho's been treated. So let me break this down. He's too strict. What do you think Ancelotti is? What do you think Pep Guardiola is? What do you think Jurgen Klopp is? Do you think Pep Guardiola stands there in the car park of Manchester City's training every morning with a bag of sweets going, Bernardo, got your favourites. Oh, Philly, Fodeney, come on, I've got you some as well. Yeah, Jack, out on the piss last night. Hope you didn't have too many. Woo! He is not. He is a disciplinarian, Pep Guardiola. He's an obsessive disciplinarian. So is Jurgen Klopp. So is Ancelotti. So why is it... I can't believe the world we live in. I can't believe there will be United fans and the media this morning criticising Ten Hag for being a disciplinarian. He's the manager of one of the biggest sports clubs in the world. Of course he's got to be a disciplinarian. Mourinho was a disciplinarian. Van Gaal was a disciplinarian. The reason it failed is because the club allow players to moan about it. Wasn't it under Rangnick they started moaning about having to drive home in the dark? Can you remember that? Rangnick's a disciplinarian as well. The problem with Man United is, and it tells you why we fail, is that every disciplinarian coach we come in ends up being sacked. Mourinho, Rangnick, Van Gaal, and maybe Ten Hag. And you've got to ask yourself, why is a disciplinarian being sacked? Why are players sacking a disciplinarian? And that's because the club listen to the players, player power, and that's the problem with Manchester United. As for them thinking that he's too strict in the way that he's dealt with Jaden Sancho, well, hold on a minute, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Let me just say this. It's not about losing the games, it's about the way we play, says Keel. Can I just come back to that in a minute? Because I'm bored of this Ten Hag out movement. It's childish. And I want to actually act mature and talk about the news. So, basically, you've got this situation whereby there's talk about, you know, Manchester United and this disciplinarian shit. And then you've got... The only thing it can be, you know, Man United players are concerned about how Ten Hag's treated some players and the impact it's had on togetherness. So basically, let's just jump in and assume we're talking about Jaden Sancho here. So some of the United players are not happy the way that Jaden Sancho's been treated and it's affecting performances on the pitch. You absolute moody cretins. You spoilt brats. Piss off and go and play for someone else. So basically, you're not playing well because Jaden's not in the dressing room with you. Maybe have a fucking word with Jaden and see why he's not in the dressing room, because there is no story yet that contradicts that what Ten Hag is doing is correct. Jaden Sancho heard his manager on the TV say he wasn't in the squad because he hadn't trained well, and Jaden Sancho decided to wipe his arse with United fans, Man United's badge, the manager, his teammates and the whole club, and do a petty little spoilt post about, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that. Totally unprofessional, hasn't apologised for it, and United players think the manager's been too strict. I mean, it makes you want to throw up on a Wednesday morning. It really does. Some of these players think that Ten Hag has been too strict in dealing with a player that's undermined the club, undermined the playing squad, undermined the fans, and undermined the manager. The manager should be, oh no, it's fine. I mean, what sort of football club are we running? Why are the players so powerful at Manchester United that they can basically act like spoilt children because one of their players is not allowed to train with them? Well, maybe you should have fucking apologised. It was complete... Look, I don't know the full story. Maybe there will be a full story at some point, but I don't deal in speculation, I deal in facts. I saw the tweet. We've been told he won't apologise, so that's the story. And until we get an alternative story, I think Ten Hag and the club are 100% correct to boot him out the team. I find it frustrating. We could do with another good player. I mean, at the end of the day, it's better to have more options than less. But you cannot say... And I fear this is what the problem is. I think there's some players in the Man United dressing room who think that the way that Ten Hag's treated Jaden Sancho isn't right and it's making them question the manager. So you're putting a mate ahead of the people that pay you. You're putting a mate ahead of Manchester United. Well, straight away, that tells me that they aren't the right players to have at Manchester United, because Roy Keane was the greatest captain I've seen at Manchester United. He did an interview on MUTV that no one can see. 100% brilliant player for this football club, servant to this club. He did an interview. He said something he shouldn't have said. He was booted out the team. I didn't see Man United players going, it's a disgrace. You can't treat Roy like that. Roy Keane was one of the greatest players we've ever had. He spoke out of turn. The manager said, get out of the club. And everyone got on with their business because they respected the manager, they respected the club, they respected the fans, and they got on with it. What's Jaden Sancho done in a Man United shirt? And why are Man United players sticking up for Sancho? You know, if people like Gary Neville and Paul Scholes and Ryan Giggs aren't going on strike about Roy Keane being booted out of the club for an interview, then why is whoever these players are, you know, downing tools for Sancho, who's done nothing in a United shirt? It's incredible. It's incredible the amount of overprivileged, out of touch, moody bastards we've created in this football club. And I can't name names. You know, I can't name names because we don't know who it is, and it's not all of them. You know, I know for a fact that it's probably less than 15% of the dressing room. But you know, in a room of 100 people, if everyone else is quiet and one person's shouting, who makes the most noise? And that's the problem. I don't know how many problems there are in that dressing room, but if they're shouting, people are listening. Mark, to your point, talk shite again, pushing Erik Ten Hag out this morning, but standing up for the Sheffield United coach because he lost his best players. I can't speak, says Alex. Well, it won't be everybody at TalkSport, will it? But as I say, I mean, I find it incredible that they had Simon Jordan and Martin Keown on this week, just basically ganging up on Ten Hag. And I'm like, just get me on the show. And they won't do it. One now, they should embrace hard work. Jokers, says Benoit. But look, just to hit back on the Ten Hag thing, because this is news, Sky Sports are saying that it will cost Manchester United at least 15 million quid to sack Erik Ten Hag. Like, this is what I've been saying for a few days now. I get the frustration, and as I said last night, I welcome the different opinions because that's what we've always been about. It's not about a dictatorship. It's not about listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. It's about you forging your own opinions. So I'll respect people that want the manager out, but it's flawed in my opinion because I don't understand what your plan is. It just sounds like, you know, you're starving hungry, you walk into the kitchen, you've been given beans on toast and you go, I'm not eating that, I'm not eating that. Well, there's nothing else to eat. And we've got no money to buy anything else. Well, I'm not eating it, I'll go hungry. Well, you need to eat. And ultimately, with Ten Hag, get rid of Ten Hag. You know, it just strikes me as stubbornness, pettiness, you know, moodiness, whatever you want to call it, but ultimately a flawed opinion to say Ten Hag out because there's just no money to pay him off. There's no money to replace him, you know. And also, I think it's a terrible, terrible decision. Manage must be allowed to manage. Look at Pep with Cancelo and Phillips. If anything, I think Erik Ten Hag should be more strict, says Joshua. Well, this is the thing. I think that every Manchester United manager is managing with an arm tied behind their back. And I think this is massively problematic because when you look at it, Erik Ten Hag is not able to manage. I can think of probably 15 things that he's not been allowed to do in 12 months. But on a very, very simple stage, £30 million for Harry Maguire. Yes, sell him. Maguire's still here playing games. And that's no, you know, I'm not criticising Maguire. Up until the derby, he's done quite well. But my point is, manager says, yes, sell him. Manager tells him he's up for sale, takes the captaincy off him. He's still at Man United. That wouldn't happen. Maguire would be gone at Man City. Maguire would be gone at Liverpool. Maguire would be gone at Arsenal. And I think that's the big problem, isn't it? That is the big problem. But look, this I think is really interesting, and it will probably end up as a clip, and it should be ended up as a clip because it's facts. I said last night, well, no, Jose said last night on the chat, he said all these people that are Ten Hag out should take a quick look at what happened at Arsenal. So I took a quick look at what happened at Arsenal. And Arsenal haven't won the league since, I think, 2004, 2005. And that's nearly 20 years. And they haven't won a league title. Arteta came in, I think, in 2019, December 2019, maybe 2020, I can't remember. And basically, he inherited a team that was, you know, dreadful. Bad mentality, all sorts of problems. and he played pretty shit football. I remember they won the FA Cup in his first 6 months, and I remember the final against Chelsea, and Chelsea should have won. Anthony Taylor was dreadful. So I looked at that and I'll go, well, look, I remember the Arteta out t-shirts. I remember, all the issues that there were with Arteta. The style of football, the players that wanted him out, the managers that wanted him out, the fans that wanted him out, the Arteta out. I mean, that all comes from the fact that Arsenal fans wanted him gone. In his first 4 years at Arsenal, Arteta finished 8th and won an FA Cup in year 1. He finished 8th in year 2, won nothing. He finished 5th in year 3, and in year 4, he finished 2nd. So 8th in the FA Cup, 8th, 2nd year, 5th, 3rd year, 2nd after that. Ten Hag has finished 3rd and won the Carabao Cup, and people are looking to sack him in October of season 2. I don't think there's a better example of what is this fan base doing if it's turning on Ten Hag already. Like, yeah, the results haven't been good, but look at Arteta. 8th, 5th, 2nd. And now look at them. So if it's took Arteta 3.5 years to turn them into what they are now, why the hell are we getting rid of Ten Hag after 14 months? It's mad. It's absolutely mad. And I don't like some of his team selections at the moment. I don't like some of the performances at the moment. But there are mitigating circumstances. There's a sale of the club hanging over it. There's a lack of money. There is a massive injury problem. There are people who are dreadfully out of form, and the manager can't solve that. There's huge issues. And I just find it really confusing how we have an element of the media, a large element of the media, and fans who want to listen to that bullshit. And yet I can sit there and go, the best rebuild project I've seen in football over the last 10 years has been Arteta at Arsenal. And Arsenal have done what they've done. But there is one big difference. People will say Ten Hag's had more money to spend than Arteta. I would say what Ten Hag inherited is worse than what Arteta inherited. And I would also say Arteta was allowed to get rid of Aubameyang. He was allowed to get rid of Ozil. Man United won't let Ten Hag get rid of Maguire. So there are definitely disparities there. I'm not saying that Ten Hag's going to make Man United title contenders in 3.5 years, because there are differences. Of course there are. But what is similar is Arteta went into a mess and was backed by the board to remove the players that he wanted to remove. And, it was a slow build. The football under Arteta for the first 2 years was pretty shit. It was. They lost silly games as well. So there are similarities there. Patrick says Arsenal had a style. You're talking out your arse. They didn't. Speak to any Arsenal fan, or actually speak to me, because I was doing That's Football at that time, watching them quite regularly. They didn't have a style of play at all. Their style of play really didn't start to come into play until probably... So first season they finished 8th. They didn't have a style of play then. Second season they finished 8th. They really hadn't sorted it out then. And then into season 3, they started the season badly. I think they lost their first 3 games against Brentford, definitely. And then it started to kick in a bit. And then that's where it's gone from there. So Neil said he had a plan, Mark, but this, you're making stuff up. I can't have a debate with a community that makes stuff up. I'll deliver you the facts. You start making stuff up. You're pretending that Arteta went in from day one playing great football. He didn't. I remember them parking the bus the way to the FA Cup final. I remember the Arteta out t-shirts. I remember the fans screaming and shouting that he wasn't the right man. I remember it all. So don't rewrite history. And also, if Arsenal were playing great football from day one, why did they finish 8th and 5th? And if they were playing great football, why did they finish 8th and 5th? They weren't playing great football. They started playing good football around halfway through the season that they finished 5th, and they've done it ever since then. So, look, the point is, many of our fans who are at Ten Hag out are acting like spoilt little brats who want to change the manager too soon, who want to blame it all on the manager when it's not his fault, who think we can sack a manager, give him £15 million and go and get another manager that's going to succeed, when actually what you want to do is wake up and have a look at the situation whereby it doesn't matter who manages Man United. What if in some miracle world Man United got Pep as manager next week. Within 2 weeks, you'll have the players going, he's too strict. He's too strict. You know, we don't like the training. He keeps us here till it's dark. You know, these are the issues. And also, Pep Guardiola would probably walk in and say, sell Maguire, sell McTominay, sell Bruno, sell Rashford, and the club would go, no, 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 no. So, look, sack the manager if you want to, but you're completely missing what the real issues are at United, which is what's above and what's below Ten Hag. And I don't think anybody can succeed there. Another difference is Arteta is working with Edu whilst Ten Hag is working with accountants. Yes, I think that's exactly right, Charlie. I think that if you cannot sell players, you cannot build a team. And one thing that Arteta and Pep and Klopp have done is, and they're very... I find all this stuff really interesting. Some people don't look at it. I find it really interesting. You know, the journey from Pep's journey at Man City, Arteta's journey at Arsenal, Klopp's journey at Liverpool. You can learn very quickly how to rebuild football clubs. And all three of them had license to come in and go, yeah, they're not good enough. And it didn't matter who they were. It didn't matter whether it was Joe Hart, who was England's number one. It didn't matter whether it was Aubameyang, who was probably Arsenal's most popular player with Ozil. The clubs backed the manager. And I think people underestimate that as well. I think they really underestimate the enormity of what Arteta was allowed to do at Arsenal. I can't really remember who Klopp got rid of, but he did get rid of players. But, you know, Aubameyang was a fan favourite. You know, you had the old AFTV and when it was popular, where it was Obama who and all that. Aubameyang was the fan favourite. Piers Morgan started a campaign against Arteta because he was mates with Aubameyang and he didn't like the fact that they sold him. I think a lot of Arsenal fans thought that was going to be their way to get Arteta out because he got rid of this star player. And, you know, he should have kept the receipts, Arteta, because he made them look absolute bloody idiots. But if you're not given the power to get rid of the players, it would be the equivalent of Ten Hag being allowed to get rid of Rashford or Bruno. That's what it would be. That's how enormous getting rid of Aubameyang and Ozil was to Arsenal. But as Charlie said, we don't have a director of football that will do that. Inverted wingers not feeding the forwards is the issue, says Keel. And Mark, that was Arteta's first ever manager job, says my baby. I don't know what that means. And it's Ten Hag's first job in the Premier League. I don't really get that. I don't really get what your point is there, because just because it's your first job or your 10th job, it doesn't mean that we bring Pep Guardiola in now. Doesn't mean that he's got to do the job quicker than a brand new manager. The job is the job. I personally think that rebuilding look, it's not going to happen. We lost, but if Qatar got hold of Man United and said there's $6 billion to clear the debt and build the club, I'd still say how if I was the manager and I was given that $6 billion to build the stadium and infrastructure and clear the debt and buy players, I'd say to Qatar, like, how quick do you expect us to win the league? And if they said it within 12 months, I'd say, forget it. And then if they said how long, I'd say three seasons, maybe 4. And if they say, what are you talking about? I said, well, but look, money's money, but I've got to get the people in, I've got to get the people out. I'm up against Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, who are already in the groove. It's not a magic wand. It will take 3 or 4 years for me to, even with money, to make this work. And I think that's sort of the message, isn't it? I mean, we are still, Mourinho got 3 years. Ollie got 3 years. I mean, Ten Hag's had a year. I genuinely am against this movement that I think is just being driven by lazy media who need to sack a manager. I personally think the media are going after Ten Hag because they need to sack a manager. We've not sacked a manager in the Premier League for the first time in years before November, and they need someone to sack. And I think that's the way the media works. And I also think some United fans just need drama in their life, and they need someone to blame. So, they know that if they blame a Rashford or a Bruno, they're not going to get sold. They know if they blame the Glazers, that they can't get the Glazers out. But what they can do is remove a manager, because we've done that 4 or 5 times in the last 10 years. Ten Hag's an easy target because he's the one thing that fans know they can moan about and make a difference to. And fans do make a difference. Ultimately, fans sack managers. That's why the media don't stop talking about Ten Hag, because they want to get the ears of United fans. And that's why certain United fans don't shut up about Ten Hag, because they know it's good for them in relation to exposure, but also they know if they can build the movement, they will get what they want. You can't remove a player. You can't remove a player as a fan. You can't remove these owners as a fan, but you can remove a manager. And I think that's what we're seeing. I've seen it happen before, and I think we'll see it again. But yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And look, you know, I don't want to talk about the Glazers because the Glazers are what they are. But can I just reiterate something to the wider audience and the media as well? You know, these people who say, I don't know why United fans moan about the Glazers because the Glazers have spent money. Please just take 1 minute of your day to understand basic finance. Like, the Glazers haven't spent a penny of money on Manchester United. We have spent £1 billion over the last 10 years on transfers, yes, but that is all exclusively Manchester United's revenue. And a quick bit of, financial lesson for you around Manchester United: the Glazers haven't spent any money on Manchester United. The Glazers bought the club on debt, and for the last, nearly 20 years, have spent none of their own money. They acquired the club on debt, and what they've then done is, if we've spent £1 billion in transfers over the last 10 years, we could have spent two if we weren't owned by the Glazers, because over the last 20 years, they've probably spent about 2 billion of our revenue repaying debts and dividends. So don't ever let anybody say that the Glazers have spent £1 billion on United. They haven't spent 1 billion pence. They haven't spent 10 pence. In fact, they've cost us money because they got us on debt, and we, as a football club, with our profits, have been servicing that debt for nearly 20 years. So if you think we've wasted £1 billion on transfers, you're absolutely correct, but it's all our own money. And if we hadn't been owned by the Glazers, we'd have had another billion to spend as well. In fact, I reckon it's closer to two. Just do the maths. The Glazers bought us on debt, and for the last 20 years, they've been paying that debt off with our revenue. Every year, you add that up, it runs into well over £1 billion that we've wasted from our money paying the Glazers' debt off. If that money had never gone into the Glazers' pocket, it would be still in the football club. So don't ever let anyone tell you that the Glazers have spent money on this football club, because they haven't. They absolutely haven't. But look, that is a bigger problem that nobody can do anything about. Players are definitely starting to turn on the manager, aren't they, Mark? Yes, they are. It's really, really, really sad, and it's true, and I wish it wasn't true, and it makes me very, very worried about upcoming games. I did the Newcastle preview yesterday, and I think that it's very simple to say that I think we're in a precarious position. I think that we could lose against Newcastle, we could lose against Fulham, we could lose against Copenhagen. I'd like to think we'll win all three, but all eyes for me at the moment are on the players, because I've seen this happen at United, I've seen it happen at Chelsea. These are the type of games that players forfeit to remove a manager, and it's dangerous. I'll find it very, very difficult if we lose against Newcastle or Fulham to respect these players again, because I just think regardless of what people think, we shouldn't be losing these sort of games. There should be some, we should be winning these games on pure desire to wear the shirt. And I genuinely fear about what I'm hearing coming out of the dressing room at the moment. And what we were told on Monday night about the club being in disarray. The club is in disarray, and it's not just the dressing room. It's all within the club. There's lots of disillusioned people, and there wasn't great leadership in the club anyway, and that leadership is falling apart because the CEO thinks he's going to lose his job, the director of football thinks he's going to lose his job, so there's no leadership in the club at the moment. It's demotivated, and then you've got players who are feeding off that. Look, I don't know whether you watch Wildlife on One or Netflix or whatever, but you know, like a pack of hyenas. They're not lions, they're cowards. But they will, if they see a prey, they will devour it. But they're not great hunters. They go after weak things. Lions obviously will go and attack things and take it down. But hyenas are cowards. They'll go after a carcass or something like that. That's what I feel like United are. You give these weak players, and an opportunity, and like hyenas, they're in there. And I feel that they're going for Ten Hag at the moment. I don't feel it. I know it. I know they are. And he's got a real issue because, you know, people question his team selections. But if I was in charge, I'd want to put 11 players on the pitch that I know have got my back. And that's very, very difficult, isn't it, as a manager? Because you don't know who's got your back and who hasn't got your back if you are the type of manager that, you know, isn't like Ollie. Ollie would know because he was like their mate. Ten Hag, like Mourinho, like Pep, has this distance between his players because he is a disciplinarian. How does he know who's stabbing him in the back? And that's problematic. Mark, I sent you an email detailing the mid-table squad we have, or we said this will take 3 years and the first sign people turn. Absolutely ridiculous, says Kay. It's disappointing, Kay. It's disappointing how quickly United fans turn on a manager. But it's life. There are, you know, everybody has different stances on things. It is disappointing, but it doesn't mean that you have to turn. I won't turn on this manager. I know I won't. I know I won't because it's way too soon, and I'm fully aware of what's going on in the football club, and I'm fully aware of who the real issues are. And for me, I'd be sacking players before I'd be sacking a manager. I'd certainly be getting rid of the Glazers before I'm sacking a manager. But I don't know what you do about that, because just Keevan says it's the same cycle all the time. But I'll go back to what I said, and I know I'm like a broken record, but I got sent something last night of somebody gobbing off about me and going, he doesn't know what he's on about and we need to get rid of Ten Hag. United fan, gobbing off. And I was like, they're not doing anything. They're just projecting hate on me, projecting hate on Ten Hag. They're talking with their chest, but then their brain's not at home. Like, I don't know what they're doing. And like Ivan says, Ten Hag excuse stand. But I will front up and take the criticism. I don't care. I've had it for years. I'm not bothered. But what nobody can do, and it's, you know, it's an argument winner, and I don't want to be a told you so, but I am going to tell you so. I say it to everybody who's Ten Hag out. What's your plan? What's your plan? Because you're just moaning about something, but you're not doing anything about it. It's very similar to Glazers out. Oh, Glazers out, Glazers out, Glazers out. They're still here. What's your plan? What's your plan? And we had a plan. Glazers out, Qatar in. That's not going to happen. We lost. But with Ten Hag out. He's not good enough. The football's not good enough. And what? What are you doing? What's your plan? Because you just sound like a moany set of bitches. You've got no actual plan. And all I want, and all anybody else wants in a debate, is your plan. My plan is that we stick with the manager, because look what happened at Arsenal. Arteta finished 8th and 5th in his first 3 years. Ten Hag's only had 1 year. I think you stick with the manager. It's a huge project. Let's stick with him. It might have to get bad before it gets better, I agree. But I would stick with the manager. I also don't think he's the problem. I don't. So I would stick with Ten Hag. That's my explanation. If you want to get rid of Ten Hag, I don't even know what your plan is. But what I will tell you is, if you sack Ten Hag, that's 15 million quid we don't have. Who do you replace him with? Because if you wanted an Emery or a De Zerbi, that's going to cost you another 15 to 30 million quid. So you're straight up to over 30 million quid to sack him and replace him straight away, which we don't have. Then that manager's going to want to buy players. He's not going to be allowed to sell players. So what's your plan? There are genuinely people I quite respect saying Ten Hag out, and I'm asking them, what's your plan? There's people involved with the United stand who are Ten Hag out, and I've said to them, what's your plan? And all you get back is a big load of the play. I don't like the selections. I don't like the style of play. And I'm like, hold on a minute. I don't want war and peace. You've told me you're Ten Hag out. I don't want to know why. You've told me you're Ten Hag out. Hopefully you've got the courage of your convictions to make that decision based on evidence. I don't need to know why you're Ten Hag out, because I would hope that you're not just saying it as some, flaky flip-flop. You're Ten Hag out, fine. Tell me what you're going to do then. And they can't tell me. And that I find ridiculous. All they talk to you about is why they're Ten Hag out. I don't care. You're at a bus stop because you want to catch a bus. I don't want to know what you had for breakfast. I don't know what deodorant you're wearing or what pants you're wearing. I don't care about what you've done with your hair. You stood at a bus stop, you want a bus. Where are you going? But they don't tell you where they're going, the Ten Hag outers. They tell you why they're at the bus stop. And I don't care about why you're at the bus stop. You're Ten Hag out. I can see that. Where are we going? Tell me why it's better. And they won't, because they know they're just moaning because they want Ten Hag out, but they don't have a plan. And what's so wrong about being Ten Hag in and explaining why? You don't need to know why, actually. I'm Ten Hag in. But what's so wrong about me saying, oh, I'm interested that you Ten Hag out. Please tell me what the plan is afterwards that's going to make things better. And I've not heard one coherent answer yet. Don't compare Ten Hag to Arteta. Arteta has never managed before, so he'll make mistakes, rightly so. Ten Hag has managed for a decade plus, do better. Absolute shite, King Lockie. Absolute nonsense. What a big load of shit. Sir Alex Ferguson had managed Aberdeen to European success and broken the Celtic Rangers' dominance. He came to Manchester United in 1986 as a very, very experienced manager in another country. And it took him 5 years to win a league title. What are you talking about? Do your research before you try and make a big point. But look, all I ask is, if you're Ten Hag out, please break it down in 2 concise sentences what you're going to do. Because I will tell you, and Tarish is right, I said this back in... I think I said it when Ten Hag came in. It will get worse before it gets better. And actually, it got a little bit better. But look, if somebody said to me, Mark, I'm Ten Hag out, good, don't want to know the reasons why, okay, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to spend 15 million to get rid of Ten Hag, compensation. We're then going to spend 30 million to get De Zerbi out of Brighton. And then we're going to give De Zerbi the total control to get rid of any player that he wants and bring in his own players. And I'd go, I like the plan. Well done. Thank you for giving us an alternative. First things first, where are you finding the 45 million to sack Ten Hag and employ De Zerbi? Where's that 45 million? Because we haven't got it. Secondly, how are you selling players that De Zerbi doesn't want? We can't and won't do it because we can't afford to do it and we're not very good at it. And where is the money coming from for De Zerbi to build another team? And you know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're broke. We've got no money. We've got no money to do what people want. I could be really harsh and tell you straight up, real talk. You're not going to like this if you're Ten Hag out, but it's straight talk, real talk. Man United cannot sack Ten Hag. They've got no money. That shouldn't be a reason not to sack him, by the way, but that is true. We've got no money to do it. I think the only logical plan, if you want to sack Ten Hag, that's realistic, is sack Eric Ten Hag, give him 15 million quid, give Darren Fletcher the job, and hope he turns into Pep Guardiola overnight. And hope that Darren Fletcher can get Rashford to play like Mbappe, Bruno to play like Kevin De Bruyne. Just basically, that's the only way of doing it. That's the only plan that United could do financially, is sack Ten Hag, give him 15 million, bring Darren Fletcher in and get him to work with what he's got for the next 5 years and build the club again. Because there's no money to do it. There's absolutely none. But people still do think that Man United can sack a manager, spend another £400 million on players, get somebody like Pep to come in or whoever else. They still think there's a quick fix. And I do wonder where they've been. Alex says you're deluded. I'm talking facts, mate. You're just saying you're just throwing insults. You're no use at all, Alex. Like, you're not even. I'd rather you thanked me for being, real and telling you the facts, or you told me why I'm wrong and what Alex's dream plan is. You're deluded is the argument of somebody who's lost. Ten Hag in brigade is an argument of you've lost. You're using emotions. You're not using reality. And as for these people, I heard what's his name, that Goldstein on Talk Sport. I mean, it just seems to be getting clipped up like a prat at the moment. Talks absolute nonsense. Emery would take the Man United job now. Well, maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. I personally wouldn't take the job if I was Emery at the moment, but you may as well have shat out your breakfast and offered that up as a Man United manager. What do you mean Emery would take the Man United job at the moment? This is real life, mate. You're on national radio. Why are you talking shit? Emery would take the Man United job at the moment. I mean, who gives a shit whether he'd take the job or not? He won't take the Man United job at the moment because Man United can't afford him. It won't happen. And Villa won't let him go. Why are we talking about reality in fantasy? Emery would take the United job. What are you talking about? Emery would take the Man United job. It won't happen. It can't happen. It's not logical. It's like saying Mbappe would play at left back for Man United. This sort of talk is actually happening on national radio, on national TV, amongst the fan base. De Zerbi would take the job. Emery would take the job. What are you talking about? Get in the real world. Get in the real world where Man United actually live. Look at the last 10 years. Look at these clubs. Villa are not Villa of 20 years ago. You knock on the door for Emery and Aston Villa go, no. Then you've got to tap Emery up. And Emery goes to Villa and said, look, I want this job. It's my dream job. And then Villa say no. And then Emery says, you know what? I want to go. I'm going to make things difficult. And Villa have to talk to Man United. And then they go, fine, you can have him, but we want 40 million quid. And then it doesn't happen anyway. Like Brighton, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Spurs, these clubs these days are powerful. You can't bully them into taking their players or their manager. Fair weather fans that want a ride on the boat when things are going well and bring nothing to the table. Erik Ten Hag out club are the equivalent of parasites, says the Society. Well, no, I disagree with that. I think emotions just run high. I have got no problem with anybody who's Ten Hag out. And, you know, as I said, I embrace the fact that this community has different opinions. You know, that's what makes it so great. I've got no problem with people being Ten Hag out. I don't want to understand why you are. You're at the bus stop, as I said. My thing is, I'm not here to change Ten Hag out people's minds because I don't want to do that. You've got there. I trust the reasons you've got there. What I want to do is you tell me why it will work and what your plan is. And I just think the Ten Hag out brigade have got their reasons. They're stood at the bus stop, but they've got no fucking idea what bus they're going to get on because they've got no change. Would you sack Ten Hag if we had Qatar, says Ethan? That is probably the best question of the morning. If Qatar had taken over Man United, cleared the debt and said, we've got 4 billion to spend on the club, but we don't want to spend it on Ten Hag, you're fired, I'd be sad, but you've absolutely come up with a brilliant... This is all I want. This is what I want because I know you're capable of doing it. And I just want to say that that is probably one of the best constructed counter arguments we've had. So Ethan Spencer, I think you should be trending in the chat. Everyone should be saying hashtag Ethan the Great, because that's the scenario where I would go, all right, hands up, you're Ten Hag out, Qatar's buying the club. If they sack him, I can see an alternative. I can see progress. But that's not happening, is it? But I would sit back and say I don't agree with it, but you know what? At least I can understand you now. So that if you were Ten Hag out and Qatar were taking over the club in 2 months, I would at least go, well, look, they're Ten Hag out and Qatar are going to sack him and they're going to give him billions. You know, that could work. I would never have had a problem if a new owner came in and was investing in the club and said, look, Ten Hag's just not the manager I want. That happens at all clubs. Loads of clubs get bought and managers come in and go, yeah, owners come in and go, that's not the manager for me. But in this situation, we don't have that. We don't have billions of pounds and a new owner with new ideas. We have Glazer United with the limitations that we know and no money. So yeah, I don't think I don't see that. But I wouldn't have wanted Qatar to sack Ten Hag. Sal says sacking Ten Hag for 15 million is cheap. Yeah, you've got no idea about United's finances, have you? I want to be you, Sal. I want to live in that fantasy world where money doesn't matter at Manchester United. If Ten Hag could rotate the team, I would back him, but right now I can't. He's too stubborn. We keep seeing the same players starting even after poor performances, says Antic. But what does that actually mean? If Ten Hag rotated the team and started winning, I would back him, but we're losing and he's not rotating the team, so I'm not. So what's your actual stance, Antic? Are you're Ten Hag out because he's not winning games and he's not rotating the team? Because I don't understand that mentality. So you're Ten Hag out, but so surely to be Ten Hag out, you've got to have an alternative plan. And that's what I mean. What's your alternative plan? You can't just be manager out because you don't like the team and you don't like the results. All right, Antic, I've sacked him for you. What do we do next? Well, I don't know. I just didn't like his team selections and the results. But no, what are we doing? I've listened to you. I've sacked him. What are we doing now? Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. It's like me saying to you, Antic, where do you want to go on holiday? I'd love to go to America. Right, we're in America now. What are we doing? Well, I don't know. I don't know. This is what I mean. I don't get the whole I'm Ten Hag out because I don't like the team and I don't like the results. All right, we fired him. What are we doing now? Oh, I don't know. With great responsibility becomes great power. You've just sacked a manager. What do you want to do about it? Or is it just blasé? No, I don't have to think about that. I don't have to think about that. Well, I think you do. If you're hypothetically sacking a manager, then you hypothetically should have an alternative plan. I'll tell you what I would do then. If I was sacking Ten Hag, which I'm not, what I would do, because I just want to offer people an alternative. If I was sacking Ten Hag, I would, fucking hell, I don't know what I would do. Is there any manager out there that's decent, that's available and free? I don't, this is the problem. I can't even give a hypothetical for you because I don't know what I would do. I am playing EAFC today, mate, Danny. So happy birthday! I'm back today. I couldn't do it on Monday. But I've got a cracking video coming up for you today on That's Football. I took 10 penalties against a former Premier... Well, it's Ben Foster. And he took some penalties against me. And I think you'll all agree when it lands, it's probably one of the best penalty saves you'll ever see. You just got to see it. It's landing at 1 o'clock on That's Football. Give it a watch. Don't forget, it's a match day today. Part of me is excited and part of me is terrified of the toxicity if we don't win, and I'm scared of it. I'm scared of it really, and I don't really get scared. But don't forget as well, lots of you have been listening to the podcast. The link is in the live chat. Goldbridge Saves Football. I will signpost it again, not only because it's a good podcast and we want you to listen to it, but it's very important for United Stand viewers. You can get 2 tickets to our Christmas show for free by listening to the podcast and doing what it says. You've got a very good chance of winning them if you listen to the United Stand. That's all I would say. Listen to the podcast. You could get 2 free tickets to our Christmas show, which is on December the 11th, and is going to be an absolute cracker. So make sure you listen to the podcast. Milverton says, change CEO, director of football, fix recruitment, see if the manager is aligned with their demands for winning and attractive football. If demands aren't met, sack him. I like that idea. And I think that's the logical thing to do because it's relatively cheap to do that, Milverton. It's not going to cost you millions and millions to replace a CEO, replace a director of football. Yeah. Enjoyed the show. Always enjoy the shows when there's a bit of conversation going on, and there certainly was. Thank you very much, everybody. And still no talk about Chalobah. I will do that very quickly. We've been linked to Chalobah of Chelsea, who apparently they want to get rid of. I don't know why he would fit in at Manchester United. I don't know enough about him to know if he's the cultured ball-playing centre-back that we need. Or are we just looking to bring in another homegrown player? I don't know. I mean, these are quotas we have to fill, but we have been linked to him. Thanks everyone for watching. It's going to be a very interesting watch along tonight, isn't it? You've got the Ten Hag in crowd, the Ten Hag out crowd. I don't know. But I'll be there for it. I hope you will be as well. Take care, everyone. Speak to you all in a bit.